Hello, welcome to my instructional video. My name is Tracy Hill and I am the facilitator of this session. We are going to cover basic media interviewing tips for beginners. Let's face it, not everyone likes to speak in public, and even more so getting an interview with a reporter. It could be nerve-wracking. Trust me, I have been there. So the learning objectives will have you first learning how to be comfortable and confident when speaking with a member of the press. Then we're going to also touch upon crisis communication, because you need to know how to handle yourself if the interview happens to go awry. So let's go ahead and get started. Ask the following questions to yourself before you agree to the interview or before you initiate contact with the reporter. First of all, who is the reporter? What do they normally cover? Next, who is the audience? You have to tailor your remarks for this particular audience, so you need to know the organization that the reporter represents. What kind of topic is the reporter working on? Is it an entertainment piece? Is it a sports piece? Is it a new song that's about to come out? Or is it a video game that has been getting bad reviews? When is the deadline for the reporter's piece? When do they need to have it completed by? And when will the story appear? Also, who else will be interviewed? Can you bring in a guest to contribute to the story? Or will this story be part of a larger feature with sources already available to give quotes? These are items that you have to ask yourself before the interview even begins. Onward to preparing for the interview. After all, preparation is key to a successful media interview. Remember a few tips before you get started. You have to remember your audience. I cannot implore this enough. If you're going to be talking about a band going into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, you need to remember that you're going to target this to the audience that's interested in rock and roll, and they're interested in the band itself. Also, visualize how you want the headline to come across, how the first paragraph is going to be in the article. This can also help guide some of your responses. Also, anticipate tough questions and develop the answers that will help you respond positively. Assess and prepare for any vulnerabilities or sensitive topics that may come up. This is really going to come in handy later on when you have to bridge back to key messages. So definitely remember those items as you're preparing for the interview. What's a media interview? A media interview is a question and answer discussion with a media member, podcaster, journalist, or anyone that works for the media, that provides information, generates buzz, and creates awareness. You have to also remember that there's different types of media interviews, and how you can be ready for them depends on the particular format. You need to have your background material ready to support your message, no matter what format. If it's going to be a Zoom or WebEx or another online platform, understand the style, focus on the key messages, speak briefly and to the point. Summarize and repeat your messages often throughout the particular interview, and don't fall into the trap of repeating negative language or have any negative questions. This can also be applied to doing a broadcast interview in the studio or an interview for the print media. As far as print, I do want to point out that you need to also assess the reporter's knowledge of the particular subject, provide an overview statement summarizing the topic and the messages for the reporter. And then you can also use statistics and examples to emphasize your message. So this is a tip that actually can be used across the board in any platform, but this is really key in the print market. Also remember, if you're doing a TV or radio interview, the reporter can edit your sound bites and maybe distort the meaning behind your message. So that's why it's so critical to speak briefly and on point. Now, don't get me wrong. The reporter is not out to get you. They're not out to attack you. You have to understand their purpose. And their purpose is to gain understanding of the topic, inform the target demographic, collect facts. That's why your data and supporting material is so important. You're going to balance adverse perspectives. Maybe the reporter wrote a critical piece and you need to defend that topic. Also, finalize content. The reporter wants to make sure the content is ready for their audience. Now that we've established what a media interview is and the different types of platforms, let's go ahead and take a look at the do's and don'ts of a media interview. So as we go into the do's and don'ts, I want you to keep in mind, be friendly, be confident. Remember, this is not an interrogation. You want to develop a rapport with your media interviewer. You're the subject expert. Establish a positive setting. Recognize that a reporter may be intimidated by your expertise, or they may not completely understand your position. Put them at ease. And practice, practice, practice. Review questions, review answers, record your answers and listen to them. Go back and ask for feedback. Grab a friend, grab a family member. Just speak naturally, and if you get lost on something, just say, hey, let me start over. Also, take a deep breath. Remember, some of these interviews can be your 15 minutes of fame. So you want to share something exciting about your brand, your product, or your service. Be personable, be confident. Also, you have to remember that you control the interview. So be concise with your short responses. Assess the reporter's prior knowledge on the particular subject. Know their style. Know if they're favorable or they may be a little controversial. Remember, you're in control of this interview. Now, we also have a few don'ts that you don't want to do during an interview. Don't repeat negative language. Don't respond to a negative question by having a negative answer. Don't use a lot of professional jargon and lingo that the general public may not understand. Don't say, no comment. The public looks at this as, I know something, but I don't know what to say. Just tell the reporter that you're unable to comment if possible. If they ask repeatedly, why not? Just bridge and shift back to your key points to get the message out. And then say, I will comment as soon as possible. And then let them know when they will have the supporting information available. Don't be defensive. Keep making a positive statement. Don't bash, deny, or refuse to answer something. And then if you just simply don't know it, don't hesitate to refer the reporter to someone else that can answer those tough questions. Now we're going to take a quick break for 10 minutes to review what we have learned, because I know there has a lot of content that has came your way. So take a look at the questions below and answer and send the answers to tracy.hill525@gmail.com. First question, in your own words, explain one element of a reporter's purpose. Number 2, why shouldn't a person use jargon, slang during an interview? 3, explain the different media interview formats. And lastly, what celebrity or public person would you like to interview and why? Now we're going to take a look at crisis communication, which is a very important part of having this media training session that we're having today. With crisis communication, you want to know that it's more than the message. It's the way the crisis is handled and delivered. So with that, we want to make sure that you understand that you don't lose your temper. There's nothing worse than losing your temper during an interview. Also, take a look at the particular interview topic in question. Are you defending a company that's having issues with employee retention? Is it a professional football player that's having issues with a scandal that could possibly overshadow the organization? You need to be aware of these different types of scandals or situations or crises and how they need to be addressed. Also, don't speak off the cuff. You should ask up front if the interview is going to be recorded during the whole entire discussion. There are times reporters will shut off the mics, and there's other times they'll let them keep going, and that's when you have a hot mic. So always keep that in the back of your mind. Also, don't become angry or provoked. Don't use swear words. Don't speak off the record. These are things that you need to keep abreast of when you're having crisis communication strategies. For example, you could have a pharmacy that is a local brand in your neighborhood. They've had a batch of pills go out that have hurt some of the patients that come to the store. Or you may have a company that is getting brutalized on social media with so many defaming reviews from competitors. Or you could have a workforce that has been impacted by so many cuts that benefits are on the table now. Or you have an athlete that's involved in a doping scandal. These are some of the situations that can occur, and you have to be ready to deliver your message and make sure it's clear, concise, and ready to go. Now we're going to pause for 10 minutes and think about the 4 scenarios. And you can select one and create a communication strategy from the answers below. With these particular scenarios that I just presented, come up with your own situation to add to the particular situation at hand, so you'll know how to plan and strategize an effective crisis communication response. Those answers I want you to email to tracy.hill525@gmail.com. First answer, replace a generic PR statement with an authentic apology. 2, proactive damage control strategy. 3, social media response outline. And lastly, silence. In closing, we have discussed the ways to address a media interview. Now, this is just the first session in a series of videos that will be built upon what we have discussed today, and will go more in depth in how you're to handle media interviews. This particular program can be used in person or in a virtual setting. This is my first time teaching the program, and my real world experiences in speaking with journalists have aided in my training. Recently, I did an interview for a statewide entertainment website. My partner was almost going to go off the rails by bringing up a particular situation that was not imperative to the topic at hand. I knew when they paused how to intervene and redirect the discussion back to the initial point of the interview. This saved the interview, as the person immensely thanked me and thanked me and thanked me after it was over. The reporter and myself have now established a good working relationship, and he's invited me to come to a podcast session at an upcoming festival. So as you see, there's so many positives in how to handle yourself during a media interview. There you have it. We covered basic media tips to help you with the interview process. Like I was saying earlier, it's not easy, but if you're passionate about getting your key messages out there, promoting your product or service or your brand, you can sail through any media interview at any time. This is the first instructional video in a series of videos that I will be conducting. So thank you for watching, and have a great day.